Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Chelsea versus Manchester City. It is by far above and beyond the biggest game of the Premier League weekend this weekend. Chelsea fresh off the back of a 4-1 win at Tottenham Hotspur that you would think would be the biggest victory going into a game like this, but no. Man City scored 6, Jeremy Doku 4 assists and a goal to beat Bournemouth 6-1 at home last weekend. They're the Premier League champions, FA Cup holders, Champions League holders, but I'm here to tell you today why Chelsea might actually win this game. And I know you're going to already say, for goodness sake, George, we know what you're like. You get excited after every bloody win, and then we get hammered back into the ground again. You get put in your place. You look like a mug. You're an idiot. I'm unsubscribing because you're just a nut job. Fine. Let yourself do it. Let yourself get carried away. I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm saying we might do, okay? That's just the way it is. If you guys aren't yet following the Telegram to GBFC, the link is in the description. It's the final week before we give away that 500 quid on Monday. Make sure you're following. Link down below. Chelsea versus Man City. This is 10th in the Premier League table, up against 1st in the Premier League table. And we've got to go back to the game against Spurs to talk with a sense of realism. Because this week, there's been a big buzz. The videos on the channel, I've been excited. I've been back to like a semi-hyperactive version of myself, which I like to do when Chelsea win. Clearly, there's a more positive twang to the things that I say. There's more of like a positive scent in the air, as opposed to the dross that we've been used to for the majority of this season. But I must say, and I said this after the Spurs game, if Chelsea play twice as good as we did against Spurs, we're probably still not going to win. So what Chelsea need to do here against Manchester City is something that doesn't look likely based on what we have seen in recent weeks, which is we have got to be so much on our game and hope that Man City have an off day, which is so rare. But I want to reference Chelsea versus Arsenal. When you look at the way that Manchester City play, if we're to make comparisons and be like, well, this team are a bit like City, Arsenal are as close to that as you can possibly get. And if Robert Sanchez knew how to kick the ball from the ground to a player in a blue shirt other than a red one, then Chelsea would have beaten Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. There is also the small carrot to wave in front of us here, where Man City a few weeks ago lost 2 matches in a row away from home. So they're absolutely beatable. As unlikely as it may seem, there is a way here that Chelsea can turn up, use that game against Spurs, which should give us such a confidence boost, regardless of what we all think is the truth, which quite frankly is that we didn't play very well. We should have had 7 or 8 goals. It took far too long to break down a Spurs team that were giving us opportunity after opportunity, but we did it. And I think when the players went back into that dressing room, you see the photo, they're all there hugging, they're all happy. That's when we want to see players taking smiley photos. We don't want to see players taking smiley photos like John Obi said on his podcast when we've lost. Like, why are we all doing this? I know social media is now so relevant and prevalent within the footballing society, but Chelsea have all the reason in the world after that Spurs game to be excited, to start believing that we've got the capacity to beat these big teams. When you look at the record this season against top sides, 2-2 against Liverpool, 2-2 against Arsenal, and a 4-1 win at Tottenham Hotspur. Now it's Manchester City. Stamford Bridge. If you're going to the match on Sunday, I want you to make a load of noise for me and also for yourself as well. We need to get behind these players right now because it's almost a bit of a free hit in a sense, because not a single team expects to beat Man City when you're up against them. Guardiola is an absolute genius. We have seen him time and time again come to Stamford Bridge, put on a masterclass, and it's often seen as like a catalytic performance for Man City then going on a run, getting a load of wins. They're on a run already. They won 6-1 last weekend, and whether or not Haaland's on the pitch for 90 minutes or not, you expect them to win. So, without any further ado, I want to build my Chelsea starting 11 here, beginning with the goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. He picks himself at this point. If Petrovic doesn't get a game against Blackburn, he doesn't randomly get called up for this one unless Sanchez has food poisoning, bad stomach, bad leg, bad ankle, or an injury. Sanchez is in goal, and I repeat the sentiment that I repeated against Arsenal, and lo and behold, I was correct. Sanchez, your distribution has to be perfect. When Chelsea have the ball against Manchester City, we have to be calm, composed, and we can't give anything away for free. What we know about City is they will run, run, run. They will press, 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 and we are going to have to be on it. And that starts with the goalkeeper. Defenders need to be confident to give him the ball and know that he's not going to panic. He's not just going to kick it out for a throw-in, which we see so often from Robert Sanchez. And don't give it to a Manchester City player, please. We move into a back four. And I've already mentioned at the beginning of this video here the similarities potentially between the way that Chelsea should approach this game to the way that we approach the majority of the Arsenal game. And for that reason, I've gone with the same back four, but Reece James in for Malo Gusto for this game here against City. Reece James, Thiago Silva, Levi Colwill playing in centre-back, please, with Marc Cucurella at left-back. I was relatively impressed with Cucurella against Spurs. Yes, he can't finish, but we didn't bring him in to be able to score goals, did we? Levi, also out of position for the Spurs goal. Chelsea are torrid in the opening 15 minutes. The shape of the back line was off. We were getting carved open at will. And we're once again against a team that have the capacity to do that at any given moment from any given player on the field. So I want to see the best, strongest back four that we have whilst playing everybody in position. If there's one thing that Guardiola knows how to do so well, it's target weakness. Get players on players that aren't quite sure positionally or strategically what they're supposed to do. So for that reason, Silva and Colwill is my back two. We need the experience there. I think Disasi, as good as he can be, I just still think he's just a good defender at this point. And Thiago Silva was brilliant against Spurs. He was the best defender on the field for us. So that is my back four. Moving in, when you see the way that this lines up here, it kind of looks like a 4-2-3-1. And I'm just going to give you the rest of the team right now. Enzo and Caicedo in what looks to be a pivot, with Gallagher advanced, with Raheem Sterling on the right, and Mykhailo Mudryk on the left, with Cole Palmer as a centre-forward. But if you think of it as a midfield three, Gallagher, Enzo, Caicedo, Cole Palmer is a false nine. It's insane here that we even have to discuss this, but I am dropping a man who scored a hat-trick, because I just think that when I look at the way that we lined up against Spurs, I'm delighted for Nicolas Jackson. Don't get me wrong. And towards the end of the game, he was excellent. He was timing the runs better. He finished. He scored a hat-trick against Spurs, for goodness sake. How can you do that, Benson? I'm sorry. I've got faith in the way that we've been playing against teams that play like City. And Arsenal, they're pretty close to it. And Cole Palmer did a really good job in that centre-forward position. And I think in this kind of match here, Pochettino, yes, the Spurs result was a big one, and it's a big one because it's our closest rivals. We hate Tottenham. It's a London derby. It's Poch against Postecoglou, back at Spurs, all of this stuff. But Chelsea is still 10th in the league here. And I think as much as we might end up looking at this and thinking, how on earth can you drop a striker who scores a hat-trick? What does that say for his confidence? I personally just really back what the team that I've made here. And I think when it comes to trying to beat Manchester City, I think this gives us the best opportunity. And I just think maybe if the game doesn't work, you've got a player who has the confidence on the bench. And if you can just take him to one side and be like, look, when I look at the matchup here between Chelsea, Manchester City, when I look at what's worked in other games this season against similar sides, sorry, mate, this works. I'm just going to have to roll with it. And I'm in an iron about this. It's been my biggest question that I've had going into making this Man City preview. Does Jackson somehow score a hat-trick and get dropped? Yes, in my opinion. This is my team. This is what I would do. I'm not Pochettino. I'm not a football manager. And yes, I know I don't know anything about football. All right, I can see it already. We can always change it. And I think that's another thing that Pochettino needs to be bold with. I think Enzo's comments to ask him to change it after 15 minutes of that game against Spurs, if it wasn't for the red cards and the way that the animosity between the two sides and the Spurs players lunging in for tackles, I think if that didn't happen, we'd have got whacked if he didn't listen to Enzo. So, yeah, I'm nervous for this game. But at the same time, I have a weird confidence about Chelsea. And I know, I keep repeating myself here. I'm just losing it again, aren't I? I just have a funny feeling that we're going to be so gassed after that Spurs win that we can actually go there to Stamford Bridge on Sunday and beat them. And I think because Man City have looked beatable at times this season, they've not been at their best. Yes, you could say they've started to tick over again now. They won 3-0 against Young Boys in the Champions League. Erling Haaland scoring another phenomenal goal as well as a penalty. Even doing the Drogba celebration. It was always going to happen after that Ballon d'Or conversation. I just think Chelsea can do it, you know. I think we've looked strong defensively. We've still got one of, I think, top 5 defences in the league in terms of goals conceded. Conceded only 12, scored 17. And I think we can be confident in a sense because we did beat Spurs 4-1. But I also think that we match up better against these kind of teams. Teams that won't just sit back in a low block and not play football. City play football. They're the best in the world at it. 2-1 Chelsea. I'm calling it here. I know I might look like an absolute twonk going into 6 things we learned after this prediction, but just let me have my moment, all right? It's my time in the sun right now. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on my Chelsea 11. Can you drop Nicolas Jackson? There's so much that could be commented on here, so please get down in the comments below. Let me know and subscribe to GBFC if you are new and hit the like button if you agree with me that we actually could beat Man City. Or am I being a lunatic and are we going to lose 5-0? I don't know. Let me know. Come on, you Blues.